Let's talk about why you're not as hungry as you maybe were before you started doing the P90X Nutrition Plan. Hey guys, it's Dave, and today I want to talk about a really common question I get from a lot of my customers. So let me kind of set up the background scenario first, and then I'll get to the question, and then some of the reasons why I think some of this stuff's happening. So scenario is you've got somebody who is 30 or more pounds overweight. Let's just say 250 pounds, okay? And they contact me, they say, I've been doing P90X for a week, maybe 2 weeks, and I'm following the nutrition guide, and I'm really doing my best to, do everything I'm supposed to do and eat all this food. The problem is, it's too much food. I cannot eat all this food. So let's talk about that a little bit, because I think this is a common issue that people have. And I understand the motivation behind it, because people want to do what's required in order to get results. So they read in the book, this is how much food you need to eat, this is what you've got to do, and so they're doing it, and they're thinking, if I can't eat all this food, I'm not going to get the results I want. So let's go through it a little bit. Okay, so if you're 250 pounds, the P90X Nutrition Guide suggests 3,600 calories, okay? That's a suggestion. Everybody should be working with a coach to make sure you've got the right calorie number for you. That number is also not designed to encourage weight loss. It's really a number that's designed to have you avoid any sort of calorie deficit. So you need to be working with a coach to make sure, first of all, that you've got the calorie number right. Because you may just be eating too much food. That's why you can't eat all the food, because it's just simply too much. So work with a coach. If you want to work with me, I'm totally open to that. My email is here on the screen. Now, the other thing that happens is it's the type of foods you're eating. Okay, and I think this is really more than the calorie number being right, because the thing I know is that if you're 250 pounds and that happens to be 30 to 50 pounds overweight, again, if you're really, really tall and you're 250, if you're shacking you're 250, it's a different deal. But for most people, let's say you're 250 pounds, what I know is you've been eating 3,600 calories a day. I mean, that's just the truth. But what you've probably been eating, and when I start to dig down with most of the people who ask these questions, and I start to figure out, okay, well, talk to me about what your diet was like before, because I know what it's like now. If you tell me you're following phase 1 of the P90X Nutrition Guide, I know you're on a high protein, moderate fat, low carb plan. Most of the people that I talk to who are telling me that this is just too much food, we're on a very high carbohydrate, fairly low protein, fairly low fat diet. Most of their food was coming from carbs. So that's where this all makes perfect sense. So there's a little bit of science behind why that's the case. But essentially, without getting into all the hormonal breakdown of everything, your body has a switch that goes off, okay? And the switch says, stop eating now because you're full. You don't have to eat anymore. It's called your Sadie Signal, okay? And foods that are high in protein, high in fat, trigger that signal very quickly. Carbs, in particular, kind of junky, high glycemic index carbs like sugars and chips and white bread and all that type of junk, those types of foods don't trigger your Sadie Signal. You know what else doesn't trigger it? Soda. 64-ounce soda. Think about how many calories are in a 64-ounce soda. Most people are just drinking those calories. They don't even realize they're taking them in, and the body doesn't ever have a chance to say, well, okay, I'm full now, like it does when you eat a diet that is higher in protein and higher in fat, which is exactly what the P90X Nutrition Guide provides for you. Phase 1 is a very low carb plan, sort of positioned as a high protein plan, but it's actually a really low carb plan. Now there's a whole host of reasons for that, and I've got another video that explains why Beachbody decided to do that. It's actually there's some interesting science behind that as well. But what happens to people when they start doing phase 1 is they start eating foods that trigger to their body, I'm full, stop eating. And that's totally different than what they were doing before. So what I always tell people, and what I do generally, I don't count calories anymore. I kind of know how many calories are in the food that I'm eating. On days that I have big, long workouts, I eat more food, and I am real intentional about fueling up for those workouts. But as a general rule, when I'm hungry, I eat food. When I am satisfied, I stop eating the food. Okay? If that means there's food left on my plate, that means there's food left on my plate. Okay? So I'm not stuffing myself. There's a difference between being satisfied and full. If you're eating to the point where you're full, where you feel like, ugh, you know, your belly hurts because you've eaten so much, you're eating too much food. I can almost universally tell you you're eating too much food, or you're eating too much food at one time. You know, spacing meals out is another thing that has been effective for me. I don't necessarily think you have to eat, you know, 5 or 6 meals a day. What I do think you want to do, though, is eat when you're hungry and stop when you're satisfied. Okay, and that's a really good rule of thumb. So, again, a couple things. One, make sure your calorie count is right. Make sure you're working with somebody who can help you dial that number in. Also, make sure that the person you're working with is going to keep working with you, because as your weight changes, your calorie numbers are going to change. At some point, your weight might plateau. One of the easiest ways to get out of a plateau with weight loss is to start staggering calories and start doing some different things with your calorie intake. So make sure you're working with somebody who understands all that stuff and can help you through that process. And then look at the types of different foods you're eating and make a mental note. I will tell you that if you had an avocado, right, nice, a lot of fat in an avocado, you add an avocado to almost any meal, you will feel full quicker than if you don't have that extra little bit of fat on your plate. So just another tip from me to you. I hope you guys find this information helpful. And again, contact me with any questions. I am happy to help you sort all this stuff out, and I hope you have a great day.